Do I start us off? Because I started off.
Fine, I'll start it off. Hi everyone, this is Raqs Talks. These are your hosts, Parizad and Faisal Zarka. And I'm the special guest, Leyl.
Yay! Well, hello. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Raqs Talks. Today we have Leyl, who remains the current reigning queen of belly dance USA, partly because they couldn't have it this year. So she was not able to crown.
She would have won anyway.
Well, I think you can compete in other categories. So that's something that I would consider going back and maybe doing troupe or something. Like, you know, it's one of these years coming up.
You're interested in troupe?
A little bit of troupe.
So? Well, our trio
with Thea, yeah.
I mean, I guess
Like
you can just kick me out of this.
I was really excited because Laura actually asked me.
Well, because you're so highly trained in AMCAB. I mean, that's something that I always say is that it's like, it's hard to find dancers who can do it all, who can dance to an entrance with zills, who can do veil dance to different, like all the different standards songs in the American Cabaret songbook, right? And then who can also do dance to Turkish, like dance to 9/8.
We are just such huge fans of
Aww.
you and everything you do, and just how knowledgeable you are with Turkish music. We always like to know, how did you get interested in belly dance?
Thanks, that means so much to me that you like my dancing. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
And everyone I know is a fan of your dancing as
Yes,
well, so like calm
seriously.
down.
Like, everybody likes your dancing, and if they don't, then they're dead to me.
I got started off dancing. I did not start dancing as part of my childhood. I played soccer, which I also heard that Amanda Rose played soccer too. So I'm like, oh, maybe that has something to do with with being good at belly dance.
Footwork.
I was athletic at least, right? Yeah, then I started salsa dancing, and there was one of my salsa teachers was like, oh, you should learn these cool belly dance moves for like when there's a freeze in salsa and your partner lets go of you and is like, do a cool move. And so she did like a reverse undulation to like a shoulder shimmy, and I was like, I want to do that, you know?
Nice.
So I was studying with her just in like a belly fit type of class, but I figured out I was gonna go to UC Santa Barbara. And I was like, I wonder if they have belly dance classes there. And then I like stumbled upon all of Alexandra King's stuff. And it was like in the early days of YouTube, but you could still look online. And I like had this whole plan like set up even before I went, where I was like, I need to take Alexandra King's belly dance class. So I was all ready, and I signed up for the beginner class, and one of my friends signed up too. We were like in the same dorm, and we were just good friends. And so she went through the whole first year beginner belly dance with me, and then she's like, I should have stuck with it, because by the end I was in the Middle East Ensemble dance troupe, which with the UCSB Middle East Ensemble, and we ended up going to Egypt and performing. That's the great thing about Alexandra, is that she really fostered like an understanding. She had this great partnership with the Middle East Ensemble, which is the like performing arm of the ethnomusicology department at UCSB. So they train musicians in, you know, all the different Middle Eastern music and all different genres and cultures of music, right? So we would, and so we got to learn all those different dance styles as well. So we got to learn like Armenian classical dance, Uzbek, we did Bandari and classical Persian, Devki. You know, it was really cool to be able to be exposed to like more than just belly dance and kind of
like Arabic dance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I got really lucky kind of coming from that background, but then, you know, the dance style that I got trained in there was West Coast American Cabaret style, because that was Alexandra King's signature belly dance style. So that style is very heavily influenced by Turkish belly dance.
Right.
So and I didn't know that at the time. I was just like, this is how you belly dance, and you know, it wasn't as clear to me. I knew all the folklore, but it's like a whole different kind of way of studying it to look at how the folklore influences like the different belly dance styles. So yeah, as I came out and came to LA, I was like, oh wait, I dance Turkish style, essentially, you know? So that was like an interesting realization for me, and I love Turkish style belly dance. I think it's so different from a lot of what you see on the global stage right now. So trying to keep it going.
I mean, and I feel like with how much focus there is on Egyptian and like modern Egyptian dance, the Turkish in the American cabaret just becomes so much more apparent.
Because I love both Egyptian style and Turkish style. So
Yes.
like Egyptian style, the focus is on bringing the energy into your body and like mixing it around and having those really internalized like movements,
Dancing
right?
with your
And you're grounded.
hoo-ha.
Yeah, I think that's in both though. It's just
Yes.
different, different kind of expressions of sexuality. So I feel like in Egyptian style dance, you can really be the diva and kind of have these
Yes.
dramatic moments, and especially with the orchestral
Like
music.
Dina, how she
Yes, yeah, very like Dina, where it's like you're just, and you're also, it's very emotionally expressive of the feelings that are sung in the music. But Turkish style just has a different take on it. The energy is much more outward. And so you're not pulling the energy inward. It's like energy is going outward, the energy is up, and you're really thinking it's more like vivacious, like sassy or fierce or proud, or kind of that whole category of like performance that you can see like Beyonce or something. You're larger than life. The musicality is different as well, where you dance a lot more to the rhythm and kind of have more like steps that are happening to the rhythm continuously, whereas true Egyptian style, you're more dancing to accents. It's like you're waiting, dun, 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 na 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 na, you know, like pa, pa, pa. And Turkish style is like you're dancing to the rhythm and turning and kind of keeping it more like going forward, and it gives the audience a different experience when you're watching someone dance that way. And also with the feeling, it's like not really as important to have like this emotional like interpretation of the lyrics. One of my favorite examples is Istomin Baba Jim, which is like one of the classic American cabaret Turkish songs, and it's essentially it's this girl. It can be sung by a man or a woman, but the lyrics are like, Dad, don't make me marry him. Oh God, you know, but they're not sad when they're dancing to it.
Right.
You're dancing, so you're not necessarily, you don't have to be happy, but
joyful.
you're joyful. It's like that up energy. So yeah, I mean that's what I think it's similar with Greek style dance in that way. I remember taking like Helena's Greek style belly dance workshop, and she's like, it doesn't matter if they're singing a sad song, we're dancing, so we're happy. They're paying us to dance, so we're happy, right? So it's kind of like a different take
that's
on
a really
it.
good point, that it is a different kind of feel than Arabic styles. Yeah.
Oh, totally, and totally different musical style too. So it's kind of interesting to me because I think a lot of people know more about these great standards of like Arabic music, like the orchestral pieces and the Kulthum and Abd al-Halim Hafez, right? But Turkish dance has its own whole set of like music. But that's kind of also, I think, what I think is interesting is people are very focused on like, I'm an Egyptian style dancer, or I'm a Turkish style dancer. I do Lebanese style, and it's like, this is what I dance, right? And like, the teachers that I've studied with, like I remember Zara Zuhair telling me this, she's like, you're gonna dance differently to the type of music that it is. Like, if someone puts on a 9/8 and you start dancing Egyptian style to it, that's just gonna show that you're kind of an uneducated dancer. But that's the great thing about the US and about American cabaret, is that we have that cultural mixing that you don't see in Egypt, right? Like no one's gonna play a Turkish song for a dancer in Egypt because all the musicians are Egyptian. And they'll be catering to foreign crowds coming in, so they'll play Saudi and Khaliji music for a lot of the tourists. So they have to know about that kind of different cultural, dance and be able to show that in their set. But like in the US, like you literally walk into a party and it's like, okay, who's here? We got our Persians over here. We got our Iraqis over here, and it's like the more that you know, and it's great. So yeah, that's something that I think is really important that people don't, I've just seen like a blind spot there a little bit with just trying to kind of explain like what I'm doing, because people will be like, what, like you're dancing like without zills here, like to an Egyptian song, how dare you? you, and then but then you're dancing with Zills to a Turkish song over here, like, and like people can't handle the dissonance, but it's like that just means that I'm a more skilled dancer, you know. And you have your own personal style, but that, you know, I think that that's something that's really cool about American Cabaret too, is that you can put multiple different styles of dance in one set.
That's one of the things that I like. I danced with a woman for a while, and she would always, when she was putting together her set, she would always choose music all from the same CD. And I saw the wisdom in that, because then it was definitely all one kind of feel. But I tried that a few times, and it was always like, but I want to go from this ooey gooey thing to this like super high energy drum solo, and those aren't going to be on the same, like, this is how I want my set to feel. I want to draw this out in this section of my set, and I want to draw this out in this section. And if you have that dynamic, like you go from your tuxedo and you're rolling around and doing amazing floor work, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, she's so snaky, or whatever it is they want to think.
Mysterious.
Yes. And then you end your tuxedo, and then a drum solo, like pop, pop, da 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 da. You're like, but guess what?
Look what else I can do.
And that's something that I really enjoy in American Cabaret.
Well, and I think that that's something that allows us to be able, in like this kind of new age that we're in, is like trying to be able to draw in American audiences. Like, because I dance at a restaurant that it's a lot of people that are uneducated about Middle Eastern music and dance. They're just like, ooh, wow, a belly dancer, like, you know, and like wanting to play my zills, and like I dance with a sword because it gives them something to focus on while I'm dancing, because they really don't understand a lot of the music.
That's an excellent point. That like if you're not if your audience isn't, since we're Americans, we dance for Americans for the most part, and giving them, well, I'm not gonna say that dancing with a sword is part of the Orientalist fantasy, but it is kind of.
It is, yeah. That's
but it
where
also, it's just like you're saying, it's like they're not gonna necessarily understand all of the undulations and stomach work, but they're gonna know that you're dancing with a sword on your head.
A lot of these American Cabaret traditions were kind of like forged in the fire of performing for this mixed ethnic community that was formed by the Middle Eastern diaspora to the U.S. in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. There's some things that, we need to edit and move past that. But then there's other things that I'm like, wow, this isn't traditional, and you wouldn't see this in Egypt or I mean, sometimes those types of Orientalist things go back.
I was gonna say
to, I think that for sword, at least, I'm like comfortable continuing that, because it's like, it gives people a focal point to understand what I'm doing in this tuxedo, whereas otherwise they just kind of glaze over and are like, I'm just bored. And that's the thing, is I think that we can move forward with AmCab and be able to like shed some of the Orientalist stuff that was really offensive, that we've kind of overcome, and I won't do anymore. So there's like a lot of shtick, like dance for the Sultan, and kind of like face veil, covering your face, or doing a wrap that covers your face with your veil, stuff like that I just don't see that having a place in our society right now, and we need to edit going forward. But I think that one of the great strengths of American Cabaret style dance and sets of music is that even an American audience that is uneducated understands those energetic, like, highs and lows of different styles of music. For me, nothing gets the energy higher than like a lively 9/8, like at the end, and people understand that and want to get up and dance, but it's a little weird because there's like, it's like a 9/8, and it's really exhilarating. Or floor work, like throwing yourself on the floor. It doesn't matter where that's a very Turkish thing to do. Turkish style dance, bam.
It's a very Disney princess thing to do. I'm going to tell you that I went to Babouche with my daughter specifically to go see Leyl perform, because she's my friend and she's amazing, and so I wanted to support my friend, and I wanted to watch some good dancing and get some really delicious food while we were at it. Now, my child has no interest in dance if it's like me trying to promote it. She's like, meh. I'm like, you want to come practice with me? And she's like, meh. And I'll say, well, do you want to do a choreography with me? We can perform it, and you can wear a sparkly costume. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, we'll have to practice. And she's like, I don't want to do that bad. We went, and Laura was just beautiful, and like my kid had just giant heart eyes. It's the way you dance, because you dance with abandon, and because you're also just classically beautiful.
Aww.
And you have that long hair that you dance with, and I envy so much. And so, like, when little girls see, and you're strong when you dance, and so they just see the whole package, and it's all tied up in this really pretty package, and that's like, that's what I want to be. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not just the little girls.
Yeah.
I've always noticed in your dancing, and I've always wanted to emulate, but apparently my thing is just the.
That's pretty good too, though. I love that about drum solo, though, because like you go to Egypt and it's like drum solo is not a thing in Egypt. Like they might have a drum solo kind of at the end.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
It's like the way that Americans do it, where you have like a 5-minute drum solo, and it's like they'll tack it on to the end of a melody progression is usually where you'll see a drum solo
that makes sense.
in Egyptian style dance, but they will not stop and be like, okay, now on drums with the drum solo. It is the finale of shows because it's at the end of a melody progression, but in the US we have this whole like other creature that drum solo has become, which I think is really an extension of American cabaret style, like how Sadie has kind of pioneered it. And one of the things that I love about it is that it allows for comedy.
You're right, because it's always in the drum solo where I do, like, that's where you want to be like, I'm going to tell a story about how I met Laura. So every year at Dance Garden LA, they do a week-long intensive called the Legends
of Belly Dance.
Legends of Belly Dance Intensive, something like that. Anyway, so what, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think it was 2017.
It was in 2017, yeah. So we both were taking the week-long intensive. I don't know, we just kind of hung, everyone else knew each other, and we were both like single people, and so we kind of gravitated to each other. And you may not know this, but I do now. Laura is kind of goofy. So
excuse me, super goofy.
Okay. So we were like kind of hanging out together and kind of were like, oh, hey, let's be friends. And at the beginning of the week, I was like, oh, look how cute she is. I thought because she's young and she's so like excited about everything and everything we were learning. She was like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm an old pro. And then like somewhere like halfway through, she was trying out some move and she like nails it and she's like, and I'm just like, oh, she's not a beginner.
Well, I needed some of that confidence that you have, you know? I mean, that's kind of the thing, I think, is that it's like, having confidence in what you're doing is so important, and it's something that's not, I mean, it comes to play in dance, but you don't learn it through dance. It's something that's kind of like part of who you are. And so I'm like, I need some of that to like melt off onto me sometimes. You know, we go on stage and like want to please the audience, right? Because we're women and we're taught like, because that's your goal. But also we're women and you're taught that it's like, oh, you're supposed to look this way so you don't offend people, or you're supposed to talk this way or act this way, so that how am I doing with everyone? Checking in, right? If you want to be a great dancer, you need to have that self-assuredness, which is very like hard to cultivate if that's not what you usually do. So that's something I really admire about you, that I'm always like maybe some of it'll rub off on me.
Oh my gosh.
So between us two, we have enough ego for everybody.
It's true.
Well, I feel like that's something that one of the things that you have that I'm like, that is so powerful is like because you're a taller lady and you like literally have that like physical presence when you're up there, like you are a queen, you know? Because I mean, it's like, and not everyone has that. Like Aziza, like a Montreal, like the American Aziza, I feel like she really has
my goddess.
that. I know. And the funny thing is, I met her in real life and she's like a little bit taller than I am. And I thought she was like 6 feet tall.
But that's such a thing with belly dancers. Like I watch all of these women on their DVDs. So there's Rachel Bryce, Jelena, Aziza, any of these women that I watch, I assume they're all 5'8" and like, you know, just like around my height. And then I'm like meeting them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, doing a solo. There's no one else up on stage with them. You know?
And they're like, and Zara was another one that I was like, what do you mean?
Zara's shorter than me.
Tall, I know.
They're all like between like 5 foot and 5'3", and I'm like, how? How are you just like?
But they're so
it looks like they're like 6 feet tall on stage. I'm always like, that's always the feeling I have whenever I watch those great dancers. Is it's like, oh my gosh, wow.
That's why sometimes I think I feel more comfortable on stage because I'm physically tall anyway, which can be intimidating, but then I'm also like, I am here. So
it's true.
In a restaurant setting, it could be really uncomfortable.
This is something that I struggle with because I was raised like in belly dance, performing close up. So I always performed in restaurants and hookah lounges and very like I'm right
intimate
here.
spaces.
I'm in intimate space, and so I developed my
stage presence.
Yes, according to that. But I perform up on stage a lot too now, and I really struggle because that requires, even though I know intellectually I need to put it out to the people in the back row, but because my muscle memory, my stage presence, muscle memory has me like right here next to you, and I don't want to be like, hey!
And that's what it feels like. It feels like my dancing is yelling at customers in restaurants, and so a lot of times they won't make eye contact with me. I don't do a drum solo for the person at the table. I do the drum solo for the back row at the show. So, which is, when I do perform in shows, I frequently get the feedback that people are like, I could see you so well.
Right.
Yeah.
But in a restaurant, like, all I could see was you, and it was scary.
Even within dance styles, it's kind of like that same question of being adapted to the stages. Like, it's it changes the dance so much, which is I think why we have like Russian technique now and like Argentinian style, because you can see the movements so well on YouTube. You know that it's if you really have these dramatic movements.
That's a really good point.
When
I saw Amani Jabril at
Amani, if you could ever see Amani live, go now. Like, not now during coronavirus, but like any other time.
So, we were all like puddles on the floor at the end of her performance. That one, the show that you performed in also. That was that was like my all-time favorite show that I ever went to.
Well, and Roxanne Shalaby produced it, and Roxanne knows what she's doing. She knows the dancers with that real like ability to bring the tot up and make you feel the emotions in the music and have that interactive, energetic experience with you trading, the energy from the audience is going to the performer, and then the performer is coming back, and the musicians are in the mix.
And the musicians are part of it.
It was heavenly.
And Roxanne's performance that night too, when the guy was falling around with a drum, and it was just like,
kind of like a Debkey.
Yes, it was just amazing. And I shot some video of that. And then, so when I watched the video of Roxanne later, and then watched Amani had shared video of her performance later, they were still really enjoyable to watch, but it just was like, there was no, the exchange wasn't there. And so, my point here is
the tot-up. That's what real tot-up is. It isn't a dance style. It is something that you aspire to create in your performance at the highest level of belly dance as an art form.
And you can only get that if your butt is in the seat watching the dancer.
Yeah.
So this is my way of saying,
butts and seats.
Yes, watch videos and comment and encourage all the dancers, but if you really want to experience belly dance, you have to go and watch them in person.
You gotta buy your iced tea and your baklava, your tiny little food, so that way your broke self can be in the chair, but you gotta go do it.
There have been times when I have not really been able to afford a show, and that's what I have done. It's just like, all right.
That's all I've ever done. I'm a recovering college student.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's what fills you up as a performer as well. I mean, I think that there's a lot of I'm already professional or at a performing level, so why do I have to take a class or go see a show, And it's
that pisses me off.
Well, and you feel filled up. I mean, that's the thing, is that if you are performing in a way that you are just giving to the audience and I hope this is okay, then you're not accepting that energy back from them, which is hard. But then you also, when you go see a show, you're able to really enjoy and bask in that person's energy and their own self. It's not even so much I wonder what kind of moves they're doing, because I think the more I dance, the more it's you're kind of you're showing part of yourself to the audience. It's it's the moves. That's why it's you don't need new moves. Belly dance already has its moves, and it's nice to innovate, but the point isn't to innovate new movements. It's like to show who you are through dance, you know, and like, and really have that experience. And so it's, and same thing with taking classes, is it's like you're able to be able to like get filled up by your teacher, you know, and not feel like it's just you and an island. You're like a dance island, and like I'm just doing my own thing, and like this is it.
What do you do to prepare when you're about to compete?
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. So you gotta get in your zone, right? Like it's like because you're backstage and everyone is giving off their own energy, right? So it's like, our dear friend Adrienne loves to pregame for her shows by listening to Cardi B, which is like, I do love me some Cardi B, but that is like I would just be like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like it's like so high energy. So I actually, one of the things I love to do is listen to my favorite Disney songs. But I am telling you, just like there's something about it being something that I've been connected to for so long. Like, cause I like when I was like little, I would like sing The Little Mermaid in the shower. I mean, I'm like that kid, right? So having that like kind of tap back to just like everything is simple, you know, and it's kind of almost like a meditative thing, right? Of being able, cause then when I get out there, I'm like, it's just the music, you know, and me, like, I'm not thinking like, oh my God, like, is my costume on right? Like, you know, like, oh my gosh, people are looking at me, you know, you can really just kind of sink into it. So that's my special music that I love, so.
But why don't you listen to belly dance music to get pumped up for a belly dance show?
So when you are raised in American culture is your native culture. So like when I approach belly dance and Middle Eastern music and culture, that's something that's not mine. I am, hopefully what I'm trying to do is appreciate that culture, right? And so it's not something that comes naturally. Like, I didn't always love belly dance music. Like, that's something that I had to, because I was at UCSB with the Middle East Ensemble, I got to see all of these, it's a mixture too of white people that are studying, you know, ethnomusicology and learning a culture that's different from theirs, but also native, you know, people from like different, you know, Middle Eastern cultures that are learning more about their own culture, you know, which is a totally different experience for them. But because I had that mixture, I feel like I was able to be like, wow, just because I don't like 9/8 right when I listened to it the first time, like that's somebody's culture, like I should work on this and try to understand it and learn how to appreciate it, because that's something that you learn how to do. So, you know, as I continue, like that's one of the big challenges that I've had and I think isn't stressed enough in like belly dance, just like instruction, is that we're very focused on teaching people technique. But it's like really belly dance, Middle Eastern dance it's a physical expression of Middle Eastern music. If you can't understand like the emotions and kind of fall in love with this Middle Eastern music, then, you know, it's like, for me, I'm like, why are you belly dancing? You know, like you can do another style of dance that's even maybe within your own culture if you want to dance to music that you naturally find appealing because it's, you know, something that you grew up with, and like kind of go perform that, right? So that's something that although I only dance to Middle Eastern music, sometimes I usually will use like music from my childhood that I loved to get in a certain emotional space, because I still have such a strong emotional connection to that music, just like inherently. And I have made those connections to some Middle Eastern music, like Botswana Speak is one that I'll listen to warming up, because I do have a true emotional connection to that song, as well as some Kulthum songs, like the original recording of Into Omri is something that I'll also like listen to just be like oh, you know, like just get you in the right emotional space to go out and perform. But yeah, that's something to think about when you're performing, is like every time you perform to one of those Taarab songs, those songs are like those are like the childhood songs of these people from that culture, you know, that it's like, you're not just gonna go out there and be like, Betwanes BD, you know. That's my 2 cents on it. That's just something that I really aspire to do in my own dance and dance instruction. And I hope that people try to like realize that and try to aspire to do that and figure out that you need to learn to appreciate this music because it's not yours, you know?
Right.
So Laura, where can we find you?
Oh yeah.
On social media, etc.
Perfect. Well, I'm just, if you search Laura Leyl Belly Dance. So I'm on Instagram at Laura Leyl Belly Dance, on Facebook, Laura Leyl Belly Dance, and then YouTube, Laura Leyl Belly Dance.
Clever.
Yeah, also at lauraleylbellydance@gmail.com. So if you want to write me. But I also teach at Dance Garden LA and my classes are online. So you're welcome to come out. I do yoga for Floorwork on Thursday evenings. So if you're interested in doing all of those fancy drops to the floor and floor work, I just put up a floor work video on YouTube. I highly recommend that you train because it's easy to hurt yourself doing floor work if you're not used to it. And then on Saturdays, I do like a technique class at 12:30 that's open level. And then at it's at 1:55, it's a Turkish belly dance class. So I'm teaching Turkish folklore, which is Romani dance from Turkey. And so that gets fused with Turkish style belly dance to create this kind of cabaret hybrid that was the finale to a lot of the West Coast American cabaret belly dance sets.
Well, thanks for coming
Thank you for
on.
coming on.
This was I knew that we would be able to just wind you up and send you because I mean I've had many conversations with you and I know how knowledgeable you are, and so I just really appreciate that you came and shared all of your awesome.
Of course. It was so fun talking with you, ladies.
Oh my god, we had a great time.
Yes. All right.
Well guys, this has been Raqs Talks. We put out new videos every Wednesday, so please tune in next time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Masalama!